Blinx Time Sweeper. This is an original Xbox game from the 2002. It's a platformer. It was developed by Artoon, and it was published by Microsoft Game Studios. This is supposedly the world's first 4D action game about a cat called Blinx. It's got some minor, I wouldn't say, it has some very minor similarities with Luigi's Mansion in terms of the sort of the time sweeper thing you use. It's got like a vacuum hoover as such that you use to sort of collect items and then shoot them at enemies, so it's kind of interesting. There was a sequel called Blinx 2 Masters of Times and Space, which was released in 2004. And this was apparently more so targeted at the Japanese market as a mascot. Not so much in the West, but in Japan it was kind of, they were trying to aim it as like your next Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario, Crash Bandicoot. But since there's only 2 games, I presume it didn't sell well enough to become a franchise. And the release date, so North America was October 7th, 2002. Europe, UK, November 8th, 2002. And Japan was December 12th, 2002. So it's an interesting game. The original Xbox I don't have a great deal of history with. The only game I actually played on it was Halo, and I might have tried Return to Castle Wolfenstein on it. These are all pretty much the Return to Castle Wolfenstein PC ports. But the Xbox is quite underrated, mainly because the PS2 was such a juggernaut. And the Nintendo GameCube was another system that, as much as I love it, was sort of completely blown away by the PS2. So yeah, so let's give this a go. I have practiced a little bit on this, so I've got some idea of what I'm doing. There is basically get so many like free chances. I've only got one at the moment, but basically you make a mistake, you can rewind time, which is interesting. And from what I've played of this, the camera is really awkward. That's the one thing I dislike about this game there. But let's get into it, and I'll show you what I mean. And as I said, you can pick this up and get Nintendo then, on Xbox Game Pass. It's free to download as long as you've got the subscription to it. So check it out. Right, so what I was saying about the camera being really, really janky, it is really, really janky. Now, I might be able to play with some precision now because I have practiced a little bit. But these things you collect, they essentially give you the ability to rewind time, pause time, slow time down, reverse time, etc, etc. So for instance, this, I don't have the ability to do it yet, but I can actually rewind that. But you see what I mean by it's got massive similarities to Luigi's Mansion, which, by the way, if you haven't played, is a very, very enjoyable game. I never did finish it on the channel. I did play quite a bit of it for a video. Oh no, no, no. Oh, I just wasted it. Okay. So I didn't actually mean to do that. As I said, there is a sequel for this as well. I can't believe I've never. I just, for some reason, it's the same as like when I had the. I was a massive Sega kid, Mega Drive Master System. Particularly Master System was a really, really popular system in the UK. So was Nintendo as the years went by, but not so much at the beginning. I knew more people with Sega than Nintendo. As you can see, the camera is giving me a bit of grief there. So if I hit right, it rotates right, but this is what I mean. But when you're trying to orientate it, it's people bitch about like Super Mario, but this has the same sort of issues, same sort of problems in terms of. I want to get in there, but I can't yet. So I need to reverse time, but I can't do it until I get a couple more crystals. So I've got the ability to reverse time then. So it's got quirky music. The graphics are quite nice on it. It does get tedious. I think I've done the first 2 levels of this, plus the first world and then the boss. And obviously you are on a time limit. I believe the time limit is 10 minutes, I believe. Can't do it yet. You see what I mean by as I'm trying to orientate the camera around? It's annoying because you know the game isn't like, it's not terrible by any means. It just has a few issues that could be fixed, could be rectified quite quickly. Now apparently the sequel does actually make quite a few improvements. But it just never caught on as a franchise. These are interesting, these types of games. But the other ones I'm quite interested are like the PS1. There's a game called Croc on PS1, and I was like, oh, frame drop there. What happened there? 1 or 2 games. Is it Croc 1 or 2? I think there's a few games like that are on there. The one I really want to try is one that's not good at all. Is Bugsy, Bubsy, which was I think it was on Mega Drive, Super Nintendo. It was a platforming game. And from what I've played of it, it's still not great. It's a sort of rip off like Sonic. It's got its own ideas and stuff, but there's one on PS1. It might be on Sega Saturn, which is quite interesting. It's called Bugsy 3D, and it looks. I still gonna say I won't trash it, but I'm very curious to try it. Okay, so I wanted to reverse time, but I don't think it's going to let me do it on this occasion. No, it's not. There's a secret there I want to pick up. You can also there's also an item shop, so you can basically collect more items and stuff. Oh, not enough power. Yeah. So the idea is then you have to go into the shop and buy newer items, and I'm running out of time here, so I better get moving. As I said, graphically it's nice. It's you know. I mean, the Xbox was in terms of specs was the most powerful of all the systems anyway. Although GameCube was quite powerful as well. Ironically, the PS2, my assumption was that the PS2 was sort of the most powerful system, but no, that's completely incorrect. The original Xbox and the GameCube, obviously, was codename was Dolphin, were very, very powerful for the time. Can I shoot something there and then stand on it? Maybe not. Right. Get up there. He has a sort of like a double jump. Aha! Oh! nice one. Still don't have the ability to... Nope. Very bright as well, this game. The contrast in this game is just out there. It's proper bright. And it does this kind of like replay. It kind of reminds me of Mario Kart, where it just replays everything you've done. But, I mean, it just sort of goes through it. It's an oddball. See, that's what. Now, if I can go back, I could in theory reverse time, and I've played a bit of it already and picked that up. So I will show you the little item shop where you can buy newer stuff. And yeah, I don't have enough. See, that's what I want to buy. It's like it's a new sort of like Hoover vacuum type thing. Okay. There's a very cat theme to this game as well, which is quite interesting. Love the 4:3 aspect ratio as well. That's the one thing that all the games kind of suck on, sadly, with the bigger screens, is that they're just not designed to be played on like a 50 or 40-50 inch TV, or even hell, even your 32-inch ones, depending on what telly you use and stuff. A lot of people swear by CRTs, and I would agree with them in principle, but the problem being that nobody wants a CRT nowadays. And people say you can pick up for nothing, they're really, really cheap. I'm like, yeah. They're really, really bulky as well, so it sort of depends. Didn't quite go the way I wanted it. No, it's not working. Gotcha. It'd be great if Microsoft added more support for these older games, because from my understanding they have actually done quite a lot already, especially when it was Xbox One. And you can only have up to 5 of these, you can only stock up to like 5 items before you have to... As you can see, that's your extra life, so I rewind time. It's a weird mechanic. You get used to it after a while. Of course, your time limit is oh god. Okay, this is the one complaint. This is other than the camera, this is another complaint. When you face bosses in this game, and it has this horrible camera shake, and it can make it can be really disorientating to actually shoot at things, because the camera doesn't stick behind it. It goes this. It never sticks behind it, so it makes things really impossible sometimes to actually see where you're going. on what you're doing. Damn it. If I'd got him, I could have got something out of that. Again, it tends to suffer from the same issue that sort of your more popular games like Mario 64, for instance, is still a lot of people dislike that game now because of the camera, which I can understand, but it's still a really, really good game. But then I have a tendency to like, I suppose, too much nostalgia sometimes. That's that level done. Anyway. Right, so if we rewind time. I think of what platforms that I've ever actually played on Xbox. I can't really think of any. As in, I mean, obviously you've got things like now, like your third parties and stuff like your Crash Bandicoots are all there on there and stuff. Obviously your Spyro, but the original Xbox, I generally can't think of much. I mean, I'm not particularly platformer centric when it comes to games anyway. I'm not that enamored with platforms. There are certain ones I enjoy. Obviously, your main ones being Mario, Sonic, and I do appreciate a bit of Crash Bandicoot. But the one good thing about platform games is they do have a tendency to be quite a lot of fun if they're really, really good. They've got interesting mechanics, interesting things you can do. This gives me kind of gives me vibes, as I said, of Croc, because is it Croc and the Gubbins or something? It's a PS1 game. You have to collect some types of gems. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a long time since I've played it, but I remember it being an early PS1 game. I'm not sure why you'd want to watch your replays, but as an option, I guess. Right, stage 4. As you can see, it is a very it gets more complicated, but it is generally quite a simplistic game. Not sure why you target this to the Japanese sort of gamers, because from my understanding, Japanese gamers have a tendency. I can see why they did it or tried to do it, but I would imagine Japanese games would be more interesting in things like. I mean, this might be completely incorrect, but I would assume more like JRPGs and stuff. Those are games that funnily enough, I've never really been able to get into a lot of JRPGs. There's a couple I'm trying at the moment. I think it's sort of more the time investment. I've been playing a bit of Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation Plus service. I'm on the extra. Is it the extra tier? I had the premium tier, but honestly, I didn't think it was worth the money. They, in terms of PS1 games, they weren't offering anything that was relatively that interesting to me. Siphon Filter was one I've played. I remember playing that a great deal as a young teenager. But it's like some people say GoldenEye, for instance, is oh, it's old, it's janky, and I agree with that sentiment, but I can still play it. Whereas there are some games where I can't. They're just look too janky. And Cyberfield was one of those games where it just looks. It's just. I'm not going to say terrible because that would be an unfair thing to say. It's just. I guess it's just personal preference, really. I tried to play it a while back on the service, and I just wasn't doing anything for me, sadly. But that's the thing, it's that balance between nostalgia and what you think is really, really good. Because as I said, like, I think Mario Kart 64 still stands up quite well. Some people think that's a mental statement to make, and that Mario 64 doesn't hold up at all. But I've got a few Nintendo GameCube games I've yet to play. I've owned them for a couple of years now, such as Mario Sunshine, which at one point was sort of, it was like Wind Waker. It wasn't liked at all when it came out. I suppose mainly because apparently at the time Nintendo wanted, well, the Nintendo fans wanted something more adult. But honestly, yeah, Wind Waker is fantastic. It's one of those games that's, I would never call any game perfection, but it's so much fun. The other game I'm actually trying to finish at the moment is actually Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a lot of fun, Horizon. I've enjoyed it, but it's one of those games where the map just never ends. And some people say, "Well, you're getting plenty of value for your money," as it you are, but there sort of comes a point where it gets a tad tedious when you've grinded like 80+ hours on one game. I had immense problems trying to clear this earlier on. See that camera shake? That's really, really excellent. But it gives you the opportunity to make better decisions. Or in that case, it didn't give me the opportunity to make better decisions. So I'm gonna run. Okay, so let's try that again, because I just got my ass kicked. In fact, that's the first time I've actually failed that mission. When I played this earlier on, I actually beat it within couple of minutes. So he's hit once, so he got hit like 3 or 4 times. But as I said, the annoying thing about it is that everything shakes. Oh, right, so I'm going to miss out on the opportunity of hitting now. The sacrifice of one more hit and he should be done for. See what I mean by the camera? It doesn't stay behind you, so it makes it impossible to tell if he's throwing something. And that is essentially the first boss beaten. And if you keep collecting these, obviously you can spend more in the shop. Again. Bloody camera. Oh, frustrating. Let's grab that. And the levels get bigger and more elaborate the more you sort of proceed through the game. I'm quite curious to see. I might have a look on eBay how much this sort of game actually costs, because a lot of original Xbox games aren't that expensive. There are a few. I think there's a net combat game which is really expensive, but most of the games are reasonably priced in comparison to, say, my other hobby, which is GameCube, where they get ludicrously expensive. There's quite a few on Xbox. The original Xbox I've been sort of had my eyes on eBay. The other one, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer games are kind of interesting. And I think there's 2 of them. There's one just called Buffy, and I think there's a second called Chaos Bleeds, I believe. Get this damn cat up there. Jump up quick. There we go. Here's a view. I don't think the second game's available on Game Pass. I haven't looked though, so I might have to see if it is. There's a small amount of Xbox, original Xbox games available on the Series X through Game Pass. Unfortunately, I don't believe there's that many you can actually run through the download the license, put the disc in your disc drive and then download the license. Unfortunately, you are better off with a 360. And even the emulation on that isn't perfect, because I've been looking at the Dark Alliance games, Baldur's Gate, which I quite good games, and I believe there's another game that was only on PS2. It's even better, which I've never played. I was watching a few retro reviews about it the other day, so that's another one that's quite interesting. But yeah, you want a 360 if you want to play a lot of the original Xbox games. Because the ones that I have played on here, they essentially put this in and it just downloads a license of the game, as far as my understanding is. these guys are a little bit different. These guys require you to run, and we need to get a bomb to deal with him. That's not what I wanted. Oh, that's not really what I wanted. Yep, reverse back. No! Oh, so as you can see, as a direct result, right, I'm trying to orientate the camera, and automatically it does it. Oh, so there you can see there's the issues that crop up with this game, and me being crap as well doesn't really help. So. In fact, I've actually died more times in this recording than when I was playing it earlier on, just to sort of get a feel for the controls and what exactly you've got to do. I would say between this and Luigi's Mansion, even though they are very, very different games in a lot of ways, I think Luigi's Mansion is going to have classes a little bit more longevity in its gameplay, just because you've got the actual haunted atmosphere of that particular game, whereas with this, it's very colourful. In fact, I think this is something that I think kids would probably enjoy this. As long as you don't get tired of doing sort of the same repeated sort of things, but people love Crash Bandicoot, and that's kind of like that. I just wanted to get rid of this guy. Eat it, eat it. What we wanted. That was a mistake. For some reason you're limited to 5 of them. I'm not quite sure why you're limited to 5, but you are. You're going to see the time mechanic in action in a second. Right, so what we do... is we do that. There's some genuinely interesting ideas in this game, which I've got to give credit for. There's some really unique ideas, especially for when this came out as well. This was sort of at a time when obviously we'd had the first generation of 3D games with your N64, Sega Saturn, PS1. But this is sort of, oh no. This is sort of it's sort of more of an experimental type game, which is interesting. Some are more successful than others. The one I remember playing, which was really weird, was the original Matrix game, and most people classify it as just not a very good game by today's standards, well, by any standards, I suppose. And it's not. It's certainly not great, but I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. But then, in hindsight, what I said about siphon filters, so yeah, it's all personal preference. What's actually quite cool about this is also you get the original Xbox intro, which I've never really seen or don't recall memories. It's like the PS1 startup, the N64, PS2. They're iconic when the systems start up. They give you that different sort of noise that you get. It's really, really good. I should have done that. That was a mistake. Luckily, I really wanted. Nope, I can't rewind. Okay, so in that situation, sometimes my theories are absolute crap. Right, so now, since I've played the first two worlds, I should be able to buy the newer vacuum Hoover. I think. Let's see if I've got enough. Nope, I was talking complete bollocks. Oh, I'll have to edit that out. YouTube's become very, very aggressive towards any form of swearing because it has to be advertiser friendly, which kind of makes me laugh because some games are very, very violent, so you're not going to get any, well, some people might, I suppose, you doubt you'll get any sponsorship for things like Modern Warfare and things like that. If you like a collectathon type game, you'll probably enjoy this. There are some games I haven't even played, which people probably see as a sin, like Banjo-Kazooie. It's on Xbox. I don't really play that many platforms, unfortunately, but maybe one day. to see if the new Hoover vacuum thing makes a great deal of difference to the gameplay. Because it is... I didn't realise you could do that. That's what I should pay more attention to. The main thing about mouse gaming is you've got to get the camera controls just right, otherwise it's just aggravating to play. Oh, I'm out. Right, so my issue is I need to run away and collect some stuff because I haven't got anything to deal with them. The camera actually... Oh my word. The one thing that camera drives me on the wall. It just doesn't orientate behind you properly, so you're constantly trying to spin the camera back around again so you can see what's coming at it, and then you can obviously manoeuvre appropriately to avoid it. Press the button to indicate. Absolutely impossible for me to get up there. The enemies are kind of generic, I suppose. It's just different variation, different colours. There is one that turns into like a spike ball, which makes things a little bit more difficult. Like throwing the fridge at the enemy. Oh, that's something new I've just discovered. There's some stuff over there. Can we get to it without falling in the lake? That's really, it's just looks like that. I presume this is supposed to be Venice, isn't it? No, you can't really know. I'm not sure you're supposed to be able to do it, but it almost feels like I'm glitching through the wall. enough. That thing tries to screw me every time I use it. Yeah, I'm coming up to the time limit of 7 minutes, 10 minutes, not that far off, so... I can see why this didn't sell amazingly well, because it's not terrible, but it becomes very, very simplistic the more you play it, and they add in different features. He ate it, and everybody ate it. This is a problem. We shall avoid the frog. All times. Run. There's no way. Again, I've never failed a time limit before, and this is the first time. Okay, so I haven't actually cleared the last stage. I thought I had. Okay. The biggest problem with this game, honestly, is that it's lacking personality. It's lacking Mario, Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, and so many other mascot characters. That's probably its biggest drawback. It's just the fact that it needs a bit more personality. Just to stand out, especially at that time. It was about those bombs, but for some reason it always seemed to bounce back. What do I mean? It bounces back, I don't understand that. to bother trying to go there because I ended up doing my time last time. That's you dealt with. Okay. Oh, what? I think there's these dudes here that are hiding here. I think you can. I think they're like here. I'm being pushed for time here, so let's see if we can just put this guy. Oh, I don't know, he's gone off the edge. Is he going to respawn or not? Is he not? No, he's not, he's going to stay down here instead. Look. Why does it do that? Why? Every time I shoot the bloody thing, it comes back. Oh, now he's spawned up there again. Respawning enemies. Something of the past. Still get it in some games though. Plenty of time, plenty of time. Yes, as I say, just the character just lacks any kind of personality. Even Bugsy, Bobsy, is it Bobsy? It's not Bugsy. Bobsy the cat on the Mega Drive, and even the SNES, it was an annoying personality. He had a personality, which is I think what this game has a tendency to lack. Oh, No idea what the boss is on this one, so it should be interesting. Xbox is actually, original Xbox, there's a lot of good stuff you can collect for it in terms of games, and they're dirt cheap. Well, reasonably dirt cheap. Time Splitters, particular favourite. What we got here then? It's a big front. Okay. So, how do I beat this guy then? Do I need bombs or something? It seems to be... When is that working? Really get me. So when he's distracted as well. I think it's around. So the bosses aren't really that difficult. It's certainly an easy enough game to play through, and it's certainly an interesting one at that. Right, well I'm going to leave it there anyway, so that is Blinx Time Sweeper. There is a sequel called Blinx 2 Masters of Time